Okay, we're live. Hello everyone and welcome to the VSTE featured panel. First, a few words on how we will progress through today's panel discussion. And then I'll introduce these lovely people to you all. After the introductions, I will ask 5 questions, one at a time, and some or all of the panelists respond to each question. Should questions arise from you people in the audience, write them down or send them to me in an IM, and if we have time at the end of the discussion, the panel will answer them too. Now, let's get started. VSTE stands for the Virginia Society for Technology in Education. The panel will discuss some of their major projects and contributions in virtual worlds, in particular, how they feel their accomplishments have taken us toward a new horizon in immersive experiences. On the panel today, we have 6 talented and dedicated people, and I'm glad to be able to introduce them to all of you in the audience. Excuse me. First up, on the first chair, we have Jazz Memo, also known as Lisa Alcancel in real life. She's the Instructional Technology Specialist at Red Mill Elementary School in Virginia Beach. She's a member of the Virginia Society for Technology in Education, Virtual Environments Professional Learning Network. She has also served as a VSTE Island Facilitator in Second Life since 2008. Next up, we have Day, also known as Dr. William F. Schmachtenberg. I hope I say that right. He teaches earth science at Franklin County High School in Rocky Mount, Virginia, and geology and paleontology at Ferrum College in Ferrum. He's a research associate with the Virginia Museum of Natural History and also an Apple developer with 9 apps on the App Store. He's the faculty advisor for the Unity 3D Club at the aforementioned high school. For more information, you can go to, and the link will be in local. Next up, we have Blue Barker. In real life, Vasily Giannoutsios. He's a graphic/instructional designer in the Virginia Beach area. He's currently going back to college to attain a 2nd degree for teaching and curriculum design for the high school level. He's also a member of Virginia Society for Technology in Education and the International Society for Technology in Education. He has served as a VSTE facilitator and builder in Second Life since 2010. He also makes machinima and writes for the Virtual Education Journal. Next to Blue, we have Lauren, real life name Keith David Reeves. He's the author of Insurrection, a Teacher Revolution in Defense of Children, and also Paperless Research Writing, Effective Digital Scaffolding for Academic Writing. Having taught every grade, kindergarten to 12th grade, in rural and urban environments and poor and affluent schools, he currently serves as Senior Coordinator of Instructional Technology at Yorktown High School in Arlington, and as the Board of Directors Liaison to the Virginia Society for Technology in Education, Virtual Environments Professional Learning Network. He is online at, and the link will be in the description, kdreeves.com. Next up, we have Thunder, real life name Kim Harrison. She's the Technology Integration Specialist at Indian Lakes Elementary School in Virginia Beach. She's the chair of the VSTE Education Virtual Environments Professional Learning Network. She runs a Minecraft server for kids ages 6 to 16 with Serena, of course, and TechPlex engineer. For more information, go to eastcoastminers.org, or you can visit her blog at blogs.vbschools.com/Kim's Kaleidoscope. The last but not least on our chairs, we have the Executive Director of VSTE. I'm going to direct her introduction to Keith before we begin the questions. Keith, you're up.
Karen Richardson is far too humble to describe herself this way, but she is as good an executive director as an organization could ask for. For the last several years, she has been instrumental in transforming the Virginia Society for Technology and Education from, as she articulately said today, a conference-only organization primarily responsible for hosting a single statewide event to bring educational technology professionals together, to a comprehensive year-round and ongoing state-level EdTech association with regional, national, and international associations. Dr. Richardson has been instrumental in creating partnerships between school divisions, between private and public partnerships, and has become a role model not only for educational technology practices in her own teaching as a professor of educational methods in technology integration, but also as a leader and a spokesperson for the entirety of our field in an international way. And I'm very pleased to count her as a colleague and as a friend.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Now, let's move on to the questions. The first question is as follows. What do you feel have been VSTE's greatest accomplishments?
Well, let me start by saying that we're just a small part of the Virginia Society for Technology and Education, the Virtual Environments Professional Learning Network. VSTE is a Virginia State affiliate of the International Society for Technology and Education. It's been around since 1986 and in Second Life since 2006. We've had our SIM since 2009.
Okay, any more comments on that?
Dave, do you want to go next, or you want me to pipe in?
Nope. I'll be happy to talk about that. And probably the biggest accomplishment that I see VSTE doing is being able to collaborate and plan events. For example, I've been to the last two VSTE meetings in real life. The one that really comes to mind was the one that I went to in Virginia Beach about a year ago. I've never been to Virginia Beach in my life, and had no idea what kind of hotels were there, what restaurants were there. And everybody at this panel was totally welcome. They gave me support. They gave me advice as to which hotels would be the best for the conference. They set up reservations. I went in there. I felt like I was a local. And like I said, by all rights, I should have gone in there totally confused. And the other thing that happened at that conference that was really amazing, and it's a shame Beth isn't here, is that I started meeting some of these people for the first time in real life that I've been working with for 2 years. And Beth came up to me, and we should have been strangers, but we've known each other for 2 years. And I go to shake her hand, and she says, "What are you doing? I want a hug." So VSTE is more than a professional organization. It's a really close-knit group of friends. Oh, good. I'm glad Beth is out there so she could hear that story.
Well, hi, I'm Jasmine Moe. I think one of VSTE's greatest accomplishments has been providing this virtual space for us since 2008. Educators and people interested in virtual environments, educational technology, all of that can come together, learn, explore, and collaborate. We also have provided a great social experience for people, as Day mentioned, to come together and have fun. And as he said, in some cases, we've been able to meet in real life. And that's been fantastic.
Awesome. Does anyone in the panel have anything to add?
So, can you guys hear me? I know going back on what Day was saying and possibly what even Jazz was saying, it really is the camaraderie that we have as a professional learning community. And I mean, sometimes you don't get that in the real world. I know people feel divided among different subjects and categorizations. But we're able to welcome in newcomers. We're able to be able to help anybody do anything, and I think that's what without its members, our group is really nothing. So it truly is an exciting thing to be a part of, and I mean, thanks to VSTE, we're able to have our own Minecraft server, and that's something really cool that we have that lots of people don't.
So this is Karen, the executive director, and I have to say that I think I speak obviously from a larger picture of the organization, but I think this virtual environments PLN really gets at one of the strengths of VSTE. We are celebrating our 30th anniversary, so clearly one thing we've done is survive and thrive in a world of technology. But I think we do that by tapping into the passions of people, the passions of our members. So such as the people on this panel. We provide the platforms for them, but they really are the ones that make them come alive with ongoing professional development. And so I think that's one of the things we do on an ongoing basis, and these guys just took it and ran with it.
This is Keith. I cannot think of another state-level educational technology organization that has maintained the current expansive and comprehensive offerings to stakeholders throughout education as VSTE has. I say that humbly. Whereas other organizations have been struggling regionally, nationally, and internationally to maintain their membership bases, their conference support, and their engagement in emergent technologies like virtual environment, VSTE has consistently thrived. Moreover, as I said at the VSTE conference in a video address I think it was about 4 years ago, the era of the virtual environment is on the rise and ahead of us. VSTE has not only recognized this, but, and in contrast to some organizations, has really doubled down materially and financially on its commitment to such technologies. It's a point of pride for all of us.
Okay, more comments?
We are the Virginia State affiliate of VSTE. I think nearly every state has one, if not more, and we are the Virginia affiliate of VSTE.
Just for the sake of, if there are any hearing impaired here, I'm just going to read aloud what she said. Virginia's community colleges host a conference held in Avaya Engages Virtual Environment. It's the second year, and I think at least higher ed folks, sorry, I missed that, are seeing how it enhances the online learning experiences. And yes, we are the Virginia State affiliate of ISTE. If you have nothing further on the first question, I'm going to move on to the second one. Okay. In what way do you feel you have led the way in promoting education in virtual worlds?
Well, a couple of thoughts come to mind here. First of all, I don't know how many of you realize it in the audience, but Virginia, the state of Virginia actually has in its technology standards that it will support virtual worlds in the classroom, which I think is awesome. My main interest in virtual worlds is through Unity 3D. And I've given a number of lectures both in real life, at real life conferences on how Unity 3D can create virtual worlds. I've also given those conferences in both online and real life. I've used programs like Uru through the years in my classroom. My students have created, it's true, I've created virtual worlds using Unity 3D and have won 2 statewide awards for that. Also, we've won 2 Congressional App STEM competitions using Unity 3D. The Geology Valley one that's being put in the local chat now actually was a very innovative program. The students redesigned the traditional standardized testing for 21st century models. So basically, when people went into Geology Island, instead of being sort of sequestered, sort of in individual cubicles, as they walked around, a question would pop up that would appear on every screen in the computer lab, so students could collaborate. They could talk about the answer to that. Blue is saying that's an app. Actually, that's not true. Geology Valley was a virtual world created with Extreme Realities standard SDK. So it's a true virtual world where people can come in and interact.
Also, as I think was mentioned before, besides the Unity piece of it, we are expanding into things like the VSTE Minecraft server, and we've done some exploration with Avicon and Kitely too.
I don't feel that we've led the way, but I do believe we picked up the banner and carried on when other organizations minimized their presence in Second Life or left altogether. Who remembers Discovery Education and the Elvin Institute in Second Life? Discovery Education always presented something at their meetings that I could use the next day in the classroom. The Elvin Institute taught me basic presentation and building skills. Needed to be successful in Second Life. VSTE continues to fill the gaps left by these organizations. We have an entire sim that we willingly and freely share with other education groups who need space in Second Life. We've hosted graduate classes, group meetings, student-teacher workshops, providing land and facilitating help for new users if requested.
Okay, then, does anyone have anything to add?
And I'll just chime in and think that we are exploring different worlds. So I'd like to think we were early in here, we stayed, but as Jazz says, we're also reaching out to other platforms by providing the professional development and support for the teachers using Minecraft. I'd like to think we helped make a stronger case for integrating those technologies in the regular classroom.
Absolutely. The expansive offerings of VSTE in both face-to-face and virtual settings before, during, and after the so-called spike of virtual environments, which many of us remember. There was a time when Second Life was new and flashy and all the rage, and everybody was excited. We've stayed here all through that, and that has allowed us to maintain not only skills, but credibility, as new platforms like Minecraft have emerged. We never gave up. We've been here the whole time, from the earliest days of the technology to now, and we continue to innovate by staying current with extant platforms like Second Life and Minecraft, but also with emergent technologies like eDorable and Project Sansar, which is Linden's newest venture into cutting-edge VE. Just as you are here now, we've been here throughout, and I cannot think again of another state-level organization that has committed to teaching and learning in virtual environments like VSTE has.
That sounds very intriguing. Does anyone else have anything to comment?
I just wanted to add that even though we have emphasis in the classroom with students from elementary and middle and high school, we do offer the professional development for adult learners. And I know that it would be awful for me not to say this, and I'm surprised it hasn't been said yet. There's actually been 3 pictures up there sliding by, and 2 of them were from our book club that we hold in the summer, and we've been able to work with the school system to be able to provide professional development points through that. And I think that's a great way for us to work and meet that credibility that is lacking in the instructional technology department.
Thunder, I'm just going to read aloud what you just typed. I'm posting a new slide now and then from our various meetings. Does anyone else have anything to say before we move on to the next question? No? Okay. The next question, moving on. What do you expect is the future of VSTE as technologies change? Who wants to go first? They take it away.
Sure. Well, one of the things that I've heard a lot at this conference is Google Cardboard, and that's something we're looking into as a possibility. And I think that VSTE needs to take point on that. What I found out is that there are lots of great apps that are out there to explore virtual worlds and in that virtual environment, and this is low cost for schools to be involved in. Over the last week, I found out how Unity can be used to actually create virtual environments in Google Cardboard, which I think is a very exciting prospect. I think that teachers need to work with other technicians. And one of the things I've talked to Thunder about is instituting more along the lines of professional development and talking about how we can master some of these emerging technologies and things like, for example, I'm going to be doing a conference at the end of the March on MIT App Inventor, which I think is cool. And Lauren is going to do something on WordPress. So I think that VSTE is going deeper into professional development as well as being a social platform.
Okay, not to sound too wordy, but if you take a look at VSTE's mission statement and what we believe, we have a vision that we want to be an influence in all the technological innovation in education. And we're recognized because of our, not just VSTE and Second Life, but the whole VSTE group as being an agent of change across the Virginia Commonwealth. Our board of directors on VSTE recognize that our virtual space, VSTE Island, can help influence those technological innovations. On the island, we're also dedicated, as we've mentioned, to promoting excellence in education through the professional development endeavors we're involved in, not just for the membership base, but for even a wider education community out there. And as those technologies change, VSTE is going to change with it. As long as we're able to, we'll continue to offer those meetings every Monday night. We'll continue with guest speakers, presentations on various topics, web tools, strategies for technology integration, and other professional development. We take tours into educational sims, and we even have social events for new avatars, building classes, and so much more.
Great. Okay, sorry.
So I
Take
was
it away with
just this is Karen. I was just demoing Google Cardboard at a conference this past week. One of the things we do is pop-up maker spaces at our face-to-face events. So I really can't say much better than Day and Thunder have. But I think we've been around for 30 years because we do two things. We try to help teachers use the technology they have available to them in the classroom. But we also push them to consider more emerging technologies as a way of transforming their teaching and learning. So, for instance, we've been doing makerspace work for several years now, connecting educators to both the tools, but also the philosophy behind the maker movement. And in addition, we try to focus our professional development on instructional uses rather than simply technical training. We encourage teachers to start with the why.
This is Keith, and I must say I was planning on answering this a little more specific to VE, but Karen prompts me to insert here as an ad hoc that I think the organization, because of its philosophy, will be able to respond flexibly to things that we cannot predict. I have heard a great many stakeholders, as I did today. Karen and I were together for a face-to-face board meeting in Charlottesville today, and I heard on more than one occasion people indicate that they were prepared to engage with whatever came next. They were looking toward whatever came next, and I think that's intrinsic to the philosophy of the organization. To stick to my previously prepared comments, though, I think that transparency is key in VE. I think that's the next frontier, but that's not really new per se. It's always been that way. The fewer barriers between the physical consensus reality we experience in first life as avatars and the virtual consensus reality we experience in our second life or even third life avatars, the better. We become more engaged and less likely to be interrupted or disturbed by the platform. I believe that the advent of more immersive sensory engagement technologies and their decreasing cost paired with increasing ubiquity and availability will make virtual environments the most powerful frontier for learning. Be that K-12, higher ed, adult ed, self-guided, autodidactic, or any other permutation of teaching and learning. VSTE's commitment has always been to excellence in teaching and learning with technology integration, not to technology itself. And as such, because our focus is pedagogical in nature, it's the thing you do with the tool, not the tool itself, as we are apt to say. I believe that VSTE's core philosophy is the heart and soul of both our past successes as well as our future successes.
All righty. Does anyone have anything to add?
Really, to agree. I mean, it is, technology is the tool, and with teachers and educators, we either are going to learn and adapt to utilize these tools in the proper situations and settings, or teachers are going to get frustrated and they're not going to use them at all. And with the way our digital immigrants versus our digital natives, those gaps are closing really quickly, and soon, hopefully, we're going to be getting more teachers that are more technologically aware and that are able to do more things, and they will not be afraid to fear the technology, but to be able to use it properly.
So true. Any last comments regarding this topic? Okay. We're now a little over halfway through the questions. The time is 3:33 p.m. and we have plenty of time left. We should be able to have a question round at the end of the panel discussion. So let's hope that. Now, for the fourth question. How have you both grown and changed over the time that you have been active in Second Life? Who wants to begin?
Well, since no one's jumping in, I will. I can honestly say that being involved in VSTE SL in Second Life has helped me be less afraid to try new things, whether it's a new program, a new web tool, an app, or other virtual world. I can honestly say if I had not been involved, it wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for my involvement with this group of people in VSTE. I never would have considered traveling to an ISTE conference. I've been to 3 now, DC, Philadelphia, Denver, and I never would have been involved in actually co-presenting at those conferences about our virtual presence in Second Life, as well as Minecraft. And to top it off, I've met these really great people, both virtually and in real life, from not just in the state of Virginia, but all over the country and even all over the world.
This is the question that I feel most passionately about myself. I've personally developed a voice through my engagement in Second Life. I'm social by nature and I love technology and teaching. Once I found myself in Second Life, I was hooked. It's a great fit for me. As a classroom teacher, I used to spend my days isolated in a small room with 25 students, only to go home exhausted without having spoken to another adult all day. I brought several colleagues into Second Life with me when I found it and found that I got to know them better through this virtual world than I ever did at school. We spent more time chatting here than we could while working. Although Lisa Jasmimo just lives a few miles from me, it was through Second Life that I feel she became one of my best friends, and all the others on this panel. I've learned software while in Second Life. It's, for me, better than a webinar because while sitting in a virtual room with a friend, I feel like we're actually together. It's comfortable and more personal. Meeting other educators through Second Life, first at ISTE and then through Discovery Ed, Virtual Pioneers, and VSTE, has opened my world. I love to share the lesson ideas with friends who teach in other states or countries. I've gotten folks from Scotland and Australia to respond to my students' voice threads. Hearing those accents, they realized their work was shared worldwide. Second Life, and now Minecraft, has given me a chance to stretch my leadership legs. I've realized that though I'm far from the smartest member of the most educated member of our group, I'm able to lead people through the collaboration process to help the group meet its goals. I'm not certain these leadership skills would have emerged in the physical world in the same way.
This is Karen. I'll start by saying that Thunder has been, along with the rest of the people on this stage, an amazing leader. And now's where I have to be honest. I don't really spend that much time in Second Life, so thank goodness for people like them who help me get around. Except as an occasional part of the VSTE professional development and mainly the summer book groups. I think Blue mentioned those. So my VSTE Second Life family is really limited to the folks on this stage, but that's a pretty amazing group of people to get to hang out with in Second Life. They welcome me enthusiastically every time I come. I always learn something, and they've taught me about commitment and innovation. I do have good intentions of getting back at least to Minecraft. I had fun with it, but I'm also something of a proof of concept generalist with a potentially shorter attention span than the folks on the stage. So now I'm playing with Ozbot robots and learning to program Python on my Raspberry Pi.
This is Keith Reeves. I came to SL first in 2006, very early on in the advent of VE. I found it fascinating, but the scope of the environment at that time, and we're throwing a flashback back to '06 for friends who are here too, was neither expansive nor immersive as compared to other platforms I enjoyed, such as online gaming and massively multiplayer online role-playing games. Yeah, Lori Vaughn, you remember then, the SL of today and the SL of 10 years ago are very different places. Well, I left for a little while because I didn't find it as compelling as I had hoped that it would be. But I came back about 4 years ago, and I found the state of SL to have massively expanded, primarily benefiting from the egalitarian cloud-like way in which users themselves have built content. Consistent with the best individualizing, unrestrictive, and constructivist ideals of education and community. Second Life has virtually, no pun intended, exploded with communities, users, and content. My personal experience mirrors this in some ways. I had a somewhat limited scope of understanding of my place in the larger educational community and the larger world. But alongside, and in many ways because of Second Life, I've been able to expand my concepts of people, of communities, of practices, of societies, of disciplines, and of the world. As I mentioned earlier, I too have come to find, connect with, and deeply care for people and communities in SL. I count myself fortunate to be able to be more my authentic self in virtual environments. We have a responsibility as leaders to promote, perhaps more so than any other benefit of virtual environments, the criticality and the power of individualism and the sovereign claim of every person to their intrinsic individual identities. More than anything, I have felt empowered as an individual, which has in turn benefited me as a professional, by my sovereign right to be my natural most self across distances and societal boundaries, thanks to Second Life. Now, as was mentioned at the top of the hour, I've taught every grade level. I've taught kindergarten as well as university students, be it as a music teacher or as a pedagogue. And if I've found anything to be critical at all levels, it's the empowerment of the individual learner. A shameless plug, I write about this extensively in my first book. Virtual environments like Second Life level playing fields. We are absolved from conditions outside of our control. We are empowered by abilities from speaking to flying to being seen as we choose, not as others choose to see us, to build communities across geographic distances otherwise insurmountable because of physics, time, money, obligations, you name it. I have discovered more of my complete self through SL, and as such, I am more equipped to be genuinely loving, compassionate, and honest, and to empower my children to be so. As a passionate believer in the right of the individual to claim their identity, to define who they are, and that every individual child deserves their own power and to be supported in claiming and acting upon that power, SL has shown me that that philosophy is valid and valuable. And as such, it is not hyperbolic to say that I am a better human being as well as a better teacher, and certainly a better leader and better pedagogue because of my experiences with this very dear SL family.
Very.
Can I go next about that one? All right. I was just going to say I've been in Second Life since about 2009. I started playing an online game called Uru, which was a multiplayer version of Myst. Some of you may remember that back in the 1990s. And I came on here mainly because the Cyan Uru servers were being shut down, and a lot of other people were looking for some other place to hang out, and it was part of a social thing. But when I came here, I quickly realized that this was a great place to collaborate and meet other people. I mean, we were constantly told as a 21st century objective is that we should be networking, we should be collaborating, we should be problem solving online. I can't think of any other venue from a professional point of view to meet other professionals than here in Second Life. But I just repeated myself. But I think about all the amazing people that I met not just other educators, but technicians on here. And I really integrated, I feel, my Second Life and my real life. I can access Second Life at my school. I feel very fortunate about that. I think back to one time I was working on a committee, and the topic was BYOD, bring your own device. And we hadn't instituted it in Franklin County yet, but Thunder, Kim Harrison, had in Virginia Beach. And so I just hit my Skype button, and all of a sudden I've got an expert from a school division that has already done it. And she made some very good comments that day. I think back to another day when I was doing an activity with my students on, yes, Thunder, I consider you an expert. Tough. Where I was doing an exercise where students were doing a timeline of NASA, and I was on Second Life while they were doing it. And another teacher named Miata, math grade, some of you may know her, said, "Oh, have you tried this website with your students? It would be perfect for the activity you're doing." Right on the spot in real time, I was getting professional help, to help my students. It was awesome. Then I think of all the experts that I met on here, the technicians, people like Kevin Tweedy, who's the CEO of Extreme Reality, who introduced me to his SDK for Unity, which allows me to create multiplayer environments. And I was just talking with him last night. We were talking about how, are we ever going to be able to get Unity multiplayer environments on mobile devices? And he said there's progress there in Android, and we're working on iOS next. Could we ever do multiplayer for Google Cardboard was something else we were talking about. And I don't think as educators, we're really going to be able to talk about the theme horizons without understanding somewhat what the technical limitations are. And we get that through collaborations on this platform here. I just don't know of any other place where I can go to make those connections.
That is very true. Does anyone have anything to add to that? No further comments? Go ahead, Blue.
Okay. I know that I'm probably the youngest person here for the VSTE because I'm just getting into education, and I've been doing some teaching here and there, but I mean I don't have the years that many of the people here do have. But I mean, I know when I was moving into education, it felt really scary for me because I felt like I was alone in this world of education and trying to understand the technology that was in it. And even though I was a proponent for instructional technology, I felt like because I didn't have a specific subject of my own, being like in technology education, it kind of separated me from everyone. But being here in this online group, it really made me feel like I was a part of something bigger than myself. And it was when we were helping others at first, I myself was just a member that just came to the Monday meetings and seeing and we've had several different facilitators come, not just Thunder and Jazz and Dave, but lots of people who were leading discussions, who were doing sandbox tutorials. And I remember just being there and learning with everyone. And then having that feeling, I became more involved, and I too became a facilitator, and helping people was really what made the difference for me. And I know that I wouldn't be here in Second Life if I didn't feel as though I was doing something important. And now having a leadership position, I know that I can see more behind the scenes, and I can know that we're making very important decisions that will help affect many within the VSTE and PLN, because we're a ripple that affects the way education is going in virtual worlds.
Awesome. Thank you, Blue. Jess, I see you typing. Do you have something to add?
No, I've just been commenting on the things that Blue said. I agree with so much of what he said, and we're so glad he's part of our group.
I believe that. Actually, we've reached the final question from me. So once again, I'm going to tell you in the audience, if you have questions for this panel, either have them ready in a note card or send them to me, because we have plenty of time left. So the last question for you guys. To what extent do you feel that VSTE has distinguished itself from other groups?
Well, I just want to remind you that VSTE is a professional organization aside from Virtual Worlds, that we're just a sort of a committee, the Virtual Environments Professional Learning Network within that group. We have the VSTE board to thank for their support of our efforts to spread our organization into this venue. We're lucky to be able to maintain an entire sim in Second Life, land in Avacon, a Minecraft server, and a cloud-based Minecraft EDU server. VSTE has been holding weekly meetings in Second Life since the winter of 2008. We provide professional development, book studies, socials, speakers, tours, and help for new users in Second Life and in Minecraft. We're able to accomplish this because we share the work. We are several members, not all represented on this platform today, who share in the planning of our meetings, organization, communication, and who bring fresh ideas monthly. We have become close as colleagues and friends, and we embrace visitors and new members with open arms, wanting VSTE's VEPLN to go on long after we're gone. Along with our Monday night meetings, one a month of which is in Minecraft, we meet on one Wednesday a month to share ideas and plan for the next month's activities. And we always throw out an open invitation to that. You don't have to be a facilitator or tight member of the community to come and bring your ideas. We want to know what the other avatars in Second Life would like us to do for them. You know, what is it in technology or education that interests you that you need to know more about? And we'll try to bring that if we can.
I agree wholeheartedly with everything Thunder said. We want this VSTE VEPLN to continue well after we're gone. So as she said, we encourage anyone who's interested to become part of this virtual world in real life, virtually. Join us, whether you're from the state of Virginia or across the world. We enjoy helping new members become acclimated to the virtual environments. And we also enjoy having seasoned members out there come in and share their expertise with us. Whether you have an educational project you want to share, maybe come be a presenter 1 month or 1 week for us. Or if you have a new world you want to share, we're always looking to expand.
That's awesome. Anyone else?
So this is
Yeah,
Karen.
I was going to throw.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
All right,
Dave.
Karen. Okay. One of the things that I was going to throw out that hasn't been brought up is that VSTE Second Life supports VSTE Real Life, I believe. We just had a fundraiser, although VSTE, the Real Life and Second Life organizations are free to join. We had a fundraiser. We had a goal of $500 we wanted to raise that night, and we surpassed that goal within 3 hours. So there's a lot of support on Second Life that I've seen. And I'm happy to say the donation money was coming not just from the state of Virginia. It was coming in from California, New York. I love those nights to see people coming in and showing their love and support for this organization. Go ahead, Rich.
Great, thanks. And I'll paste it back in there. So as Dave mentioned, membership in the larger VSTE organization is free. Everyone's welcome. Head to http://www.viste.org and click the Join Now button. It's a way to keep in touch with us. I think what distinguishes us is that we find ways to tap into the passions of our members, and that helps drive our programs and services. We're all about grassroots work, and we rely on volunteers like the panel to extend our reach.
This is Lauren. The question being, what distinguishes VSTE from other groups? I'm constantly shocked that this organization has known me for years and hasn't kicked me out yet. I mean, who doesn't wise up and throw out a bum like me, especially after so long? In all seriousness, first and foremost, VSTE is as egalitarian and inclusive as any organization I have ever encountered. And I'm not being a sycophant. I have no incentive to lie. I don't have to be here. VSTE isn't the kind of group that if you don't belong, nobody takes you seriously. It's not compulsory. However, if you are a serious educational technologist or integrator in your classroom and you teach in Virginia, you very certainly are a member of VSTE by choice, because you've already learned that we are your team, no matter where or what you teach. It is a place for all peoples, all stakeholders, all philosophies and beliefs, all possibilities for all stakeholders, students, teachers, administrators, private industry colleagues, community members. We are deeply invested in law and policy, in advocacy and activism, in promoting best practices and providing meaningful, deeply student-centered professional development. We are committed to providing professional development of all fashions, state level, division-wide, school-based, small-scale, individualized, to bring in national, regional, and even highly suspicious and strange-mannered wackos like me to teach and speak, to researching emergent trends, to developing curricular and tool-based instructional resources in online collaborative environments. VSTE is committed deeply to the art and science, as I say in my first book, the craft of teaching. Now, to be entirely honest, I don't really care much for formal organizations and institutions. Those who know me to be an avowed revolutionary and deinstitutionalizer, I don't naturally ally with groups or organizations. I'm actually somewhat averse to signing my name to things and aligning with banners or joining the throng, as it were. I'm much more content just being me, doing my own thing and not being bound to groups or symbols or institutions. But I believe that the people in VSTE, a shifting, flexible, thoughtful, philosophical group of people who believe every individual counts, that every individual has value to teaching and learning, comprise a community that is entirely unique. We are not institutional. We aren't edificial. We aren't do as I say, but rather we bring in voices of every type, caliber, scope, and background. As such, I cherish VSTE. I'm committed to it because it has committed to me. And I count myself deeply fortunate to say that I genuinely love, as Beth said, many of the people on this stage. They are deeply my friends, not because they're in SL, but because of who they are. I believe they are here because they're genuine humans, honest thinkers and feelers, and they are able to manifest their very best qualities here virtually, as I aspire to do. That is, I dare say, that is, I think, a deeply powerful philosophy and pedagogy that must benefit children, and that's why I think we're here to begin with. VSTE is you. It isn't me. It isn't Karen. It isn't the board. It isn't a logo or a headquarters or a conference, as good as it is. It's a collaborative philosophy and community of learning leaders. It is a responsive phenomenon. We are wherever EdTech is in Virginia, not because we say so, not because we're the only game in town, but because the people who are doing the great work of EdTech recognize that we're on the same team. It is that inclusiveness, which, yes, owes a lot to leaders like Kim and Jazz, who made VSTE and SL powerful from the start, and owes a lot to Karen, who has led an extraordinary burgeoning of our influence, credibility, and force for good for children. But it is our inclusiveness that makes VSTE a very special group, and I believe that's the key to why we've been here right from the start. In VSTE, you don't belong to us, we belong to you.
Hear, hear.
Does anyone else have anything to add? Nothing further?
Well, it feels like Lowen just totally took the floor, and he's an amazing person. I know he's Mr. Likes to do things, take charge, totally is against like the whole oppressiveness of our organizations. But the fact that he's stayed with us and he knows that, and we know this too, he brings it up very frequently, and because he sees that we are changing. And I think that's the thing about VSTE is that the organization itself is changing, and I think lots of other educational organizations have been so rigid that they won't change. Indefinitely, emphatically, he said this. And the willingness to change and adapt to the changing technologies that do exist, it really, really makes the difference for VSTE versus other organizations. And I know for me, I tend to be the wild card most of the time, so very odd ideas. As I do plenty of research with bleeding edge and futurist predictions, I see where things are going, and I can see the placement of certain things. But I think like going in the direction of virtual worlds and even augmented reality is going to play a major part for technology's role in the future of education. Definitely within the next coming years. I know something I'm really looking forward to is the Microsoft HoloLens. I know it's certainly something to look at and how it's going to change how we see things.
You're so right. Okay, anything further before we open a question round from the audience? No? Jazz, anything? Day? Blue?
I think they've said it all.
It seems so. Okay. I will open the question round from the audience. I already got one question, so let's start with that. The question is from Mal Burns. I'll just put this into chat. He asks, we have been enjoying the slides behind you. Which would one of the panelists care to run us through them?
Oh, I can do that. Let me go back to the beginning. I just grabbed a bunch of slides from my desktop from over the years. Okay, so starting with the VSTE logo. The next one is actually a class. UVA, University of Virginia at Wise, had, I think she's done 3 classes on VSTE Island. They were not about virtual worlds. They were other topics, but they were distance learning graduate classes for Virginia teachers who are being recertified. And so this is a picture of one of them having a discussion. And our part was just to be there for the first couple of meetings and even before the class started and help individuals get geared up to speak and sit and move in Second Life. So that was interesting. And this one, I apologize that I can't remember this woman's name. But one of the objectives that we teach in 3rd grade in Virginia is about the contributions of ancient civilizations, Mali in Africa being one of them. And I met this woman who had been raised in Mali as a young child. I think her parents were missionaries or worked for a company there. Oh, I don't remember. But she brought with her slides and told us all about what living in Mali was like. And I invited teachers from my school to come to my home because they weren't Second Life users, so they could see her presentation. And we filmed it. It's on the VSTE website somewhere. And so that was wonderful help to all of us in Virginia who teach 3rd grade. This is a building class. What is it that we're learning? You can tell by the picture, some sort of scripting. It's not
Wasn't that
Bitly.
Scratch?
Okay,
Like a type of Scratch, I think, for SL.
Yeah. So we often have on Monday nights somebody come in that knows something we want to know, and they take us through lessons. And so this was a Scratch thing.
Was that Coolest Bean, I believe?
It could have been Coolest Bean, yeah. This is, what is this thing called? Opinionator.
The Opinionator.
I have an Opinionator, which I just love. I don't know if you can still get them. They were not expensive. They're great tools for discussions. It does the Likert scale. You put out a statement and then everybody walks into the bin to show to what degree they agree with the statement. And we drag that out and use it every now and then. In fact, I used it recently, last summer, I guess, when we did our book talk about Minecraft, just to learn about everyone's Minecraft experience and whether or not they have Minecraft at school. And so that was interesting. This picture is quite old. A few years ago, we had the author of Blood on the River. Jazz, try to come up with her name.
Oh, I can't.
This is a historical fiction about Jamestown, Virginia, and about a boy who was Captain Smith's assistant or servant or something. I can't remember exactly. This woman that had written the book doesn't use technology. She doesn't even use a computer to type her books. She does it all by hand. But Mandy Mimulus, who many of you know, was able to make contact with her through phone and create an avatar for her and got her in through phone on voice. And she came to our book talk about her book. It was wonderful. And the reason we were most interested in her and her book is because there, at that time, was quite a bit of VSTE Island dedicated to Jamestown and the 3 ships and the Powhatan village. Some of it is still there, but that was a wonderful book talk. And then the next few are slides. I think this is from when we went to Berlin in the 1920s. We take some tours. Don't remember what this one was about specifically. Let me see if I can look at it more closely. I don't know.
That might have been after one of our
something.
summer book talks where
Perhaps.
a presenter came. Mm-hmm.
Witchy Richie is a professor on her own, and she knows a lot of people who know a lot of things and teach a lot of classes. So very often when we choose the book, she goes out and finds experts, movers and shakers who can come in and talk to us about maker spaces or, whatever it is we're learning about. So that was probably a guest speaker that she brought us. This slide is from when Keith did a lesson for us on immersion in virtual worlds. And he actually had a learning plan where we all became members of a reenactment of the Civil War. And we had costumes and we had roles to play. And I think that we had to speak to each other and try to figure out who everybody was. Keith, do you want to say anything about that?
Oh, sure. This was kind of a flagship project. We presented this at the conference as well as in virtual worlds. It was a fully standards-aligned, immersive 6th grade lesson in which students were expected to be able to reasonably discuss the origins and causes of the American Civil War. For those of you in the international community, that's about the late 1860, early 1861 through 1865. And was a significant conflict that is very complicated and very, I won't say misunderstood, but it's very political. Depending on your geography, depending on your family background, there's an extraordinary diversity of opinions. And Virginia, geographically situated in the center of the East Coast of the United States, is kind of right in the middle of all of it. So it's a very complicated topic. And the endeavor of the lesson was to put people into a role-playing scenario in which they could immerse themselves in the understanding of one particular perspective and then interact with people who had the similar level of buy-in. We used very rudimentary costumes. It was no cost. Everything was free. A lot of it was system level. We're not talking about mesh costumes here. But we allowed students to, in this case, adult students as an example at the conference, but they were able to don the attire of and the name of the identity of a variety of individuals on all sides of the conflict across all sociopolitical and socioeconomic spectra, and immerse themselves in a virtual experience as part of their standards-based instruction. It's pretty cool.
Thank you. The next slide is from, we're actually making a machinima for Connected Educators Month And our thing was we were doing the Thriller dance, and that was a lot of fun. I think that Mandy Mimulus was our choreographer, and we all did this dance and played the music. And then when they came around and filmed our sim for Connected Educators Month, that was a part of it. Visty loves to play games, and Greedy is our favorite, but if you come to Visty Island, even come when we're not there, there are games hidden in corners all over the island. There's some I haven't played yet, but we do love to just sit and chat and network, and sometimes playing a game is a good way to get started. This is our old pavilion, again, where we had a lot of meetings. We have a more modernized space now, but that one was the Invent to Learn book talk from a couple of summers ago. And we're very often lucky to get the author to come when we have book talks. So I find that if they know about Second Life, they don't mind coming to speak to us here because they don't have to leave their house or even wash their face. This is from International Dot Day. We often do things on Visty Island that you can use the next day in the classroom. And this was right around the time that Dot Day was being celebrated. I think it's September 15th every year. That's when the book was published. And it's a cute little book if you haven't read that before. This picture is from World of Warcraft. Several of us have included that in our tour of virtual worlds and become hooked. And then we've at least twice done little intros to World of Warcraft if there are Visty members or attendees who wanted to see what that was all about. We took them in. It's something that you can try for free up to a certain level. So that was fun. And of course, I'm addicted. This is our Minecraft world. We have actually two Minecraft worlds. We have a server on Beast Node that Karen pays for us. We can have up to 30 people at any one time, and we visit Minecraft instead of Second Life the first Monday of every month. And it's really interesting, and Virginia Beach Minecraft has really taken off, where our network, people didn't want to allow it. It's now become something that happens in several elementary schools and is growing. I think there's a librarian in a middle school who wants to try it. So it's getting bigger and bigger. And we've learned to build there. We don't have students there, but, it's a place for us to feel comfortable so that we feel more like taking our students there, I guess. This picture looks like Minecraft, but it's actually Second Life. We're discussing the book that Colin Gallagher wrote or edited. I can't remember the name of the book, but we got him to come, and that was very interesting. He shared a lot about Minecraft and so forth, but he also shared a lot about being a teacher at an international school. So we learned a lot about that too. I think it was called Minecraft in the Classroom, something like that. And here's some more Minecraft pictures. Keith has built underground mine rails that connect all these houses that we just built all over random places. That's kind of fun. And then this is the last one, but this was last Monday. We have a fellow now, a lot of you know Texplex Engineer. He is a 20-something actual electrical engineer who is very smart. And, I love Minecraft, but I don't know how to do everything. I'm not great with world edit and adding modifications and all that stuff. I'm a teacher who believes the kids can know it. I don't have to know it. So, but Techplex volunteered to do a lesson on World Edit. So we came into Visty's Minecraft world, and he had this venue all fixed for us. So we each picked a spot, and he was so good at going through it step by step and saying it clearly and giving us time to practice that I finally got it. I think I've tried to learn it 3, 4, 5 times, but I finally feel like I understand it. VSTE's other Minecraft world is the cloud-based Minecraft EDU. And every now and then we offer to take people into that, and they just have to email me, and I send them a login, and we go in so that they can see how the EDU version is different from the regular Minecraft version. So that's the slides. Thank you for asking.
That was fun to watch. Thank you for that. The next question is actually from Blue, and it's directed to Beth. And he asks, could you please explain how you got started with the VSTE organization? Your name has been mentioned multiple times, and people want to know. Do you want to jump in, Beth?
I didn't hear what the question was.
Sorry, I'll repeat. Could you please explain how you got started with the VSTE organization? Your name has been mentioned multiple times and people want to know.
Well, in Virginia for professional development, teachers have to take courses or write articles or do various things to get points. And one of the things I could do to get points was to take a course through a consortium that my school district is part of. And it was about virtual worlds and games in education, led by Sendel Enyo. And that's how I got into Second Life. There wasn't the only thing that we looked into. We looked into a lot of games and different kinds of things. But that's how I got in, because I have been getting emails every week from VSTE talking about the cool things they were doing in Second Life. And I wanted to get in here and see what it was. So that was my motivation for getting here. And then once I got here, I met all these awesome people. And just, I've been having a really good time ever since.
Sounds great. Thank you for that, Beth. The next question is from the audience. The question is from Adriana D. And she asks, what interactive activities would you recommend to use in classes in SL? I'll just paste it into chat. There you go. Who wants to start?
Well, I'll be happy to raise hand. There we go. For me, building would be one of the first things that I would want to tackle. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Thunder, that we'll just address that head on. VSTE, being as diverse an organization as it is, has a diversity of opinions on the place that SL and other virtual environments play in K-12 ed. I, for one, am a vocal advocate of K-12 involvement, but historically there have been legitimate concerns for why one might be a little more age concerned. Regardless of the age, just speaking generally about who's coming into the virtual environment, for me, the ability to build with prims is, I think, one of the most critical interactive components for SL. Whereas there is an open sandbox and easy building scenario with Minecraft, because you're really talking about voxel-based, I mean, they're just cubes, right? You can get very sophisticated in your building in SL. The sky's really the limit, and it is therefore naturally differentiating. People who want to run all the way down the rabbit hole and build and script and expand that even to full-scale environments have the ability to do so. But people who want to be rudimentary in their construction, using, say, predefined prims and predefined textures, can very easily do so. anything in which you can imagine, and I've actually used this very argument to convert people to SL before, if you can imagine a first life lesson that involves manipulatives, there is literally no reason why you can't do it in SL. And that just requires getting involved in the building component. So for me, interactive building is the way to go, because I mean the kids are literally the ones doing the building.
Okay, thank you for that. Does anyone have anything to add?
Here's what I always say about that. I feel like Second Life is the place for the teachers, the educators to get their feet wet and learn what virtual environments can be, because Second Life is so rich with content. And then you take your students someplace safer with fewer distractions like OpenSim, like Avicon. And, you know, you've learned what to do in Second Life with all the people here that can teach you, and then you can better teach your students in a safer environment.
Okay, great. Anyone else? Okay. We have another question from Mal, and he says, I seem to remember that you used to do some TV programs with Treat TV. Are you still doing any projects like that? Who wants to jump in and answer?
I wonder if you're thinking about ISTE and not VSTE. Blue, what do you think?
ISTE used to have like their bi-weekly TV studio, like talk show presentation. So I'm thinking maybe that's what they're referring to.
That could very well be. But now we know, right? Okay. I just thought of something. What is the latest piece of technology you're using in your classrooms?
Wow, gosh. For me, this is Jasmimo, I would have to say the latest piece for us in the classroom has been Google Classroom. I have several teachers that have just gotten started with using it with their fourth grade students, and they are loving it. Yay! Hopefully I can get more people involved, but it seems to be the way of going paperless for us.
I know also going into the paperless research field that Lauren is a part of, there's this phone app called GroupMe. And it's really fantastic because I could create a group of people, and not only can you share links and videos, it kind of stores it, and like I can just go through the index of the different links and resources. So it's kind of like my mini bookmarking that it's doing. So it has been really helpful to organize research papers and grant writing that we've been doing at my college.
I guess for us, it's Google Cardboard. We just got, I got one of them. I played with it with one of my students. They just went nuts over it. The school board 8 more of Mattel Viewmasters. Yes, Thunder. We're looking into that more. The big question we're looking at with Google Cardboard is, what is the content? What is the educational value to it? Because there's a lot of cool apps that work with Google Cardboard, like roller coasters and so on. The question is, which apps are best for teaching certain concepts? I recommended Google Cardboard, especially the space one, because I was doing lessons these last 2 weeks with constellations and our space program and the planets, and it fit very well into the content that I wanted to teach.
I think, like many of you, it probably depends. I'm not in a classroom myself at the moment. I should caveat by saying I'm an administrator. I went to the dark side and I regret it every day. For those of you who are in your own classrooms, you're able to easily answer that. For me, I have a comprehensive high school just outside of Washington, D.C., which, as the international community likely knows, is the capital of the United States on the eastern seaboard. My community is just across the Potomac River from D.C., but is still part of that metro area, and it's very affluent. It's a little disturbing to me sometimes how affluent it is. The classrooms that are innovative, the classrooms that are really doing cutting-edge stuff, we have programmable BB-8 robots that are being programmed and controlled remotely with students doing the coding themselves. They're creating entire algorithms in Python and doing amazing things with robotics. Conversely, I'm not kidding when I say I have classrooms where I recently had a teacher tell me that they lamented the whiteboard because they felt it had less gravitas than a traditional chalkboard, and desperate, like no kidding, wanted me to install a green chalkboard in her classroom. So there's an extraordinary diversity of aptitudes pedagogically in the classrooms that I have to deal with. So most cutting edge, you'll see that in certain places, but of course, where do you see that cutting edge work at the moment? You're seeing it in the computer science classroom. I'm actually quite disappointed in the lack of innovation. I still have teachers who are asking me, how can I use the smartboard better? I've said for years the era of the interactive whiteboard is behind us. It's a done technology. I'm done. A single point of teacher-focused technology at the front of the room that only one person can use at a time, that's a 20th century pedagogical tool, not a 21st century tool. So I'm actually very frustrated by the lack of my ability to answer the question from the audience with a more impressive thing. Most of the technology being used in classrooms, we are a blue ribbon winning top 10 ranked public high school in the United States, and most often the most innovative tool being used in that classroom is a smartboard, which ain't innovative at all.
Can I add one more? I have kindergarten and first grade students using an app called Seesaw. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it. They have grabbed right onto it, the teachers included, where students are able to have a digital portfolio of what they do throughout their day, throughout the week, and are able to make connections with parents at home to keep them informed with what's going on. It has been phenomenal. I don't know if you all are familiar with it. I believe the website is seesaw.me. It's an excellent app, not just for Apple, works on Android devices and on laptops also. Just had to throw that in there.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, do we have any questions from the audience that hasn't made its way into my IM? Any of you have some questions typed into a note card or something for the panel? I'm just looking across the audience to see if someone is typing. While we wait and see, I have actually another question from myself. I have an Oculus Rift, but this also is for the users of similar VR tools like, for instance, the Google Cardboard. Which of your builds would be best to experience through a VR tool? Which would you say is a must-see through VR?
That's such a good question.
Well, I know that some people have, I've been asked that question lots, what to see in Second Life through VR. And it's hard to say because there are so many talented builders here. So I was just curious what you think of the things you've built would be best to see.
Well, I can't help but jump in on this one because I was going to answer it for somebody else, and I'll let other people go next. But for the answer specifically, the pronoun being there, things that I've built. I am an annual participant, for those of you in the audience who go to this, for the Second Life birthday celebrations. I've presented on educational technology each year. I have a virtual environments sim that I have on the mainland, a teacher resource center called Distance Lab. That's at distansl.org. And I've presented on EdTech at the birthday celebration the last 2 years. And this past year, I was particularly proud. I built an environment that was an 1890 classroom, complete with, original wooden desks and all of the technology that was relevant to an 1890 classroom, and a 2015 classroom, and put them next to each other, illustrating how very similar they were, that the pedagogy not shifting means that the environment is still basically the same. John Dewey's classroom would fit in anywhere now, 100 years, 80 years later. So my favorite thing that I've built that I would like to take you into with the Oculus Rift is this time machine experience of putting yourself in two classrooms 150 years apart that basically look exactly the same and challenging preconceptions about teaching.
I really would love to see that. Thank you, Keith. Maybe drop me a landmark.
Happy to. I can put it back up at VSTE.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I throw in something to the last question about? I think somewhat we're limited for certain types of VR. For example, I mentioned the last question about Google Cardboard. As far as I know, the only virtual worlds you can do in Google Cardboard are Unity 3D based ones. I haven't seen any other tool develop apps for that. If somebody knows, let me know. The other thing I was going to bring up, since we're at the end of the conference, is I wonder how much our decision makers know the power of virtual worlds, because it just seems to me like when I'm in the real world, we're still thinking in terms of 20th century technology. We're still assessing students the same way. In most of our classrooms, we take them in and they do the same sort of techniques, or on the computer where they're in these little cubicles, same thing as we did 20 years ago. We're still using PISA tests as a way of assessing how well the United States is compared with other countries. One experiment that I did in February of 2014 was I designed a Unity 3D world and met with an organization known as the Science Circle here to set this up. And what I did was, in collaboration with Kevin Tweedy of Extreme Reality, I set up an oceanography competition where people from anywhere on the planet could compete. And I had 7 people. It was just a proof of concept. I had 7 scientists and educators come from North America. I had 7 come from Eurasia, and just answer questions in an oceanographic environment. And it ended up that the North American team won, go USA. But nobody seemed to care about that experiment. I'm just sort of surprised that the decision makers aren't leveraging the power of the virtual environments that we all enjoy to solve 21st century technology and either collaborate or have sort of friendly competitions. That was the session I did with Yan back in February 2014. It's not a matter of, the USA team won. I'm just saying that we can create virtual environments that allow people to collaborate and compete in ways that just wasn't possible in the last century.
Okay, thank you. Anything to add? We move on. I have another question in line. Okay. Next question is from Sinia Sauber. She asks, how does your group foresee students, not just schools and colleagues, to be able to afford these tools and access? How do we keep them learning and not being left out because of costs? I will paste the question because that was kind of long. There you go.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I don't want to be the first guy to jump in every time, and I am interested in Karen's perspective on this because she is kind of looking at it from 10,000 feet. But I think it's a double-edged question because on the one side, and I'll speak working backwards, part of that's not our responsibility, and it's just a product of technology in the market. When I started off in educational technology in 2006, the costs for the most basic integrative technologies in classrooms were astronomical. Whereas now we're literally looking at Chromeboxes are down to 150, 140. A Chromebook is down to 120. The idea of the $100 laptop 5 years ago was ridiculous, and now it's well within reach. So we don't really, we're not the ones who are going to keep it down, I think, ultimately. As connectivity becomes more ubiquitous and less costly, and as the technology becomes more capable, more ubiquitous, and less costly, the tech side of the house, I think, really takes care of itself. Every kid will eventually be carrying around a device in their pocket that has an extraordinary capacity that was inconceivable a few years ago. That having been said, that I really think there's a concrete answer for us on the ed tech side of the house. We have to disengage from proprietary and isolating platforms. I'm going to say it one more time verbatim. And I didn't even write this down. We have to disengage from proprietary and isolated platforms. We have responsibilities as public educators to make sure that our platforms are web-based and device agnostic. That, to me, is the key answer to your question, and I appreciate its specificity. We have to make sure that any kid, any teacher, no matter what device they have, no matter what whim of the superintendent comes along and shifts from PC to Mac to Unix to back again, we have got to stick to a device-agnostic platform that means the technology is secondary to the pedagogy. I think that while we cannot control the IT side of the house as much as we would like to, and in that way can absolve ourselves of that responsibility, it largely takes care of ourselves. The policy and practical decisions that we make in the public schools have to be predicated upon device agnosticism.
And so this is Karen, I agree with all of that. I think I will start with the 30,000 foot view. In the whatever the decades were, and I'm going to get the history wrong, but at some point in this country, we determined that having a telephone was really important and found the money and the wherewithal to run the lines to everyone and kind of give access. I live on a farm out in the country, but I live near a town, and my cable company has put me in their red zone. I can't get cable internet access bandwidth at my house. I started with a MiFi. I was running Second Life sessions from a MiFi for a few years. We're up to 7 megabit DSL, which in this area is really bandwidth. And so, that kind of broadband access really has to be solved at the federal and the state level. Schools are doing it here in the state. We're working hard on getting bandwidth to all the schools, but getting bandwidth then out to the kids is just incredibly important. And ISTE calls it the homework gap. Because we get it at school and then we send you home and, flipping the classroom, we got to figure out how to get the videos to you if you can't get online. But that's got to be a countrywide sort of push. That it really is absolutely important. And my kids could go to the library, but they could be 30 miles from the library. So that kind of big picture thing. I think we also, in this, Keith and I were in a meeting all day today, and what we heard a lot of was there's just not enough training. And I think until we do the kind of really quality professional development that marries both the technology as well as the kind of classroom that we want in our kids to be going to, we really need to, help teachers figure out how to make use of what they already have. And I'm not justifying this as inequity, like, oh, well, we're sorry, we're not getting you what you really need and deserve. But if you've got something in your classroom, you can make use of it. And you can have student-centered classrooms that are paper-based. I mean, if it's the pedagogy piece you're looking at, you can be a student-centered teacher without any digital technologies in your classroom. But we owe it to our kids to help them figure out how to use these devices to support them now and then in the future. That's the kind of learning device they're going to be using in some way or form. So we really need to invest in the training with what you have to make sure you're making the most out of that. And, I know Lauren's no fan of interactive whiteboards, but they can be at least used in some innovative sorts of ways. And if that's what you got, then that's what we need to help you use until we can figure out the, not, is that true? But that we can really help you with what you have, and then you can apply that when you get more. But yeah, we suffer from real digital inequity in this country, and I think it's something that has to be dealt with in a federal kind of way. The new moonshot, as it were. Ooh, I really got passionate there, but I just think we have to commit to it.
The new moonshot. Write it down, friends. Dr. Karen Richardson. I love it.
Thank you very much, Karen. Does anyone have anything to add before we move on to the next question? Alrighty. The next question is from Olive Tree Lighthouse. I'll paste this in local as well. She asks, how does the group connect and collaborate to learn from other great creators and innovators in SL? In general, for instance, game creators, builders, role-play communities, etc. Who wants to jump in and ask and answer first? Sorry.
Well, I'll start, but I don't have a lot to say on this. But I think as individuals, we each have our passions. You've heard Day Miami talk about Uru and Unity, and I've talked about Minecraft. We each have our passions, and we come together often in Second Life, a minimum of once a week. So we share those passions with each other, and that, I guess that's how we become more well-rounded.
We also have our virtual VE Google Plus community, where we're always reaching out to other people.
Hey, I know that sometimes I reminisce on people that have left, but there are a lot of people that have stayed or that are coming back. I believe, what's his name? Lico.
Lico, yes. Lico Littlebird.
Yes. Littlebird. I was trying to remember that last name. He is a really phenomenal builder, and I mean, he started out with Prims. He helped with the VSTE Island over the years, and then when Mesh came out, he totally was working on trying to convert all of his Prims things into Mesh objects, and that entire process was fascinating. He has come and talked about it. He's even showed us a demo on how it works for some of his programs that he uses. So, I mean, even though we outreach with our book clubs, we contact the author and they come in and they're all the quote-unquote experts on their subject. But I think that it really is the friendships that and the members that come in, they all have those specialties and expertise and things. And I think that's the important thing about virtual education is that everyone is an expert in something. And when we do share that knowledge, everyone gains something from it. No one's really losing anything just by spending some time and talking, but you're really learning about them and what they're doing.
I wanted to respond to that question because I do it quite a bit with other technicians on here. I've already mentioned Kevin Tweedy of Extreme Reality. I think of John Lester, who used to be with Reaction Grid. The list goes on and on. And one of the things I found on Second Life is the technicians, the game creators, they want to talk with educators. When I say that I'm a high school teacher or a college professor, the response has always been, oh, we would love to work with you. Educators, teachers, you are considered content creators, because although there are plenty of people out here that know how to crank out great games, they don't know what content to put in. You guys, if you are certified in a particular area, you are a content creator, and these technicians would love to talk to you. And unbelievable the deals that we can cut in education, especially in this market of recession. There are people out there that will work for literally gas money. I hate to say it. I've known some of these guys, very talented people, unfortunately, are almost unemployed.
Okay, thank you very much. We're almost done. Does anyone in the audience have any questions? I didn't get any more right now, so I think not. Okay, it looks like we're all done. You have all been great. I just want to say it's been a pleasure to get to know you. You're a very inspirational bunch, and I'll certainly be visiting your place here in SL when I get the chance. And audience, please show your appreciation for the wonderful people in the panel and, of course, the hardworking staff hiding behind the stage. Thank you all for being here, both panel and audience. This concludes the featured panel for today.